Welcome back, friends, to Onyx's Rambling Reviews. Today's review is on The Bride. Here she is. Not that bride specifically, but that's the idea. The Bride of Frankenstein. But the movie's just called The Bride. The new Maggie Gyllenhaal movie. I enjoyed it. I know I said in my most anticipated movie that it gave like Bonnie and Clyde vibes. So that's kind of what I was expecting going in. That's not what it really was. But I still enjoyed it because it was still good. It did have a few pacing issues. Like, it wasn't the most well-paced movie in existence, but it wasn't horrible. It definitely wasn't horrible. I have seen worse-paced movies. Definitely seen worse-paced movies in the past. I gave this movie 3.5 stars. Despite not being what I expected going in, I still had a good time. It's a fun time. Jessie Buckley, amazing in this movie. She is definitely the star of this movie. Like, Christian Bale is there, and he's doing his thing. He's great. He is definitely overshadowed by Jessie, though. Like, I liked her enough in Hamnet. She was fine. But I think that this movie was a much better portrayal of her acting skills. I think she's amazing. I liked her better in this than in Hamnet. Now that we've gotten those things out of the way, spoilers ahead as we get into my notes, which is just really the recap of the movie. But spoilers ahead, and let's get into it. We start with words on the screen. Written word. Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein on a dare. This apparently is actually true. It was more of a competition than a dare per se, but similar idea. The movie is also narrated by Mary Shelley, or, somebody playing Mary Shelley, as she is in limbo. She's dead, but she's not afterlife dead. She's still there. She got unfinished business, and she's gonna finish that business. We see her, and she's just like, I'm looking for somebody to, we're gonna call her Ida. Turns out that actually is Ida's name. I just assumed Mary Shelley was just like, I'm choosing this name for you. No, that is Ida's name. Mary Shelley is gonna possess this woman. And she does. As Ida is at this dinner, I don't know if it's like a fancy place or something, but she's definitely not there as a girlfriend. She's definitely there as more of the entertainment to be at the table with them. And this guy is just like, you need to try the oyster. Eventually, she gives in and just like, fine, I'll eat the oyster. I don't think she likes oysters, because pretty quickly she throws the oyster up onto the man who fed it to her, and then at around the same time is when Mary Shelley possesses her. And this is where I really think Jessie Buckley shines, is when she's portraying being possessed and like fighting, like when Mary Shelley is taking over the body versus when it's actually Ida. I think she does fabulous. It's really well done. And like, you can tell when it's Mary Shelley because the voice changes, the accents there. It's great. She starts insulting the guy who is apparently a big mob boss or mafia or something. And two guys take her out into the hallway, or I'm not sure. It must be a hallway. It's at the top of the stairs outside the bar, club, whatever this place is. And she kind of gets in a slap fight with one of them. They're just grown people just slap fighting. It's hilarious. I love things like that. Yeah, I can see that happening. I'd do that. Then you get into a fight. In the promo, it's just like, you had an accident. Technically, it's an accident. Like, she wasn't actually pushed down the stairs. The guy goes to like grab her, and he's not trying to push her downstairs. I think he's trying to pull her back, but she steps back, and her heel slips off the stair, and she goes tumbling back down the stairs. And she's dead. Ida, Mary Shelley, they're both dead. My handwriting for notes is atrocious during movies. Then it's a new day. Ida's dead. We're moving on. We see this guy in a crowd in the streets of Chicago. He's a little covered up. We don't see much. We don't really see his face from any angle right away. But we do see on the back of his head, right below his hat line, there's a weird, like, unhaired bit that has like a staple or something, or a very large stitch otherwise in it. He's looking for somebody. He's looking for a scientist. And we learn that this is Frankenstein. Yes, technically, it's Frankenstein's monster, but at this point, he has taken on the doctor's name and goes by Frankenstein, or Frank. That works too. I'm mostly going to refer to him as Frank, and most people in the movies refer to him as Frank. Frank, he finds the location of where the scientist is in the city. And he starts talking with this older woman there. He's just like, I'm looking for this person. I need their help or something. And apparently that woman is the scientist that he is looking for. He expected a man because, let's be real, back then women couldn't do a lot. This takes place in the 20s, I think? Maybe? No, 20s doesn't feel right. 40s? I'm gonna go 30s, somewhere back then when women couldn't do a lot or weren't really respected in the fields if they were in said field. So the books that the scientist wrote, she wrote with just the initial of her first name and then her last name. So there was nobody really knew what gender they were. Everybody just assumed it was a man since it was all science fiction and everything. No, it's this woman. She's great. She's fun. Everything's fun for me, apparently. I don't know why I keep thinking everything's fun. I really need to work on finding better words. One day I will. So she seems to actually know who Frankenstein is. She's heard about, Frankenstein's monster and everything. He gets looked over by the scientist, and she's just like, look, you can stay here if you let me, examine you, kind of observe you. And he eventually agrees, but he's not super on board with just, being another specimen. What he is there for specifically is to have her help him get a woman. He wants a woman, a relationship, somebody to do the deed with, somebody so he's not so lonely in eternity. Because let's be real, if you're gonna live forever, it's not fun if you're doing it alone. Even if the only other person stuck with you living forever is somebody you hate, at least you have somebody who you can always just go to just trash on. He doesn't have anybody. He wants a woman. As they're talking about this, he has taken off the hat and the handkerchief scarf thing that was covering his face, so it's very clear there's the stitches and scar. He had it's even mentioned that he had removed the bolts from his neck. You see the scarring there, which it's a good touch. I do like that. As they're talking at the doctor's desk, the doctor's assistant, Greta, I can remember her name. I cannot remember the doctor's name. I'm sorry. The doctor makes enough sense to call her. Now, Greta walks in. She freaks out because Frank doesn't look like a normal man. And she's like, what? And she's screaming. And as she shuts the door, the doctor's just like, Greta, I'm with a patient. In the most just deadpan tone ever. It's amazing. Perfectly my sense of humor right there. They're talking. Frank is trying to convince the doctor to help him with his wants. And she's very hesitant to go about it. We see him. He goes to a movie next. He's very obsessed with this one actor at this time who is played by Jake Gyllenhaal. Ronnie, I think is his name. Yeah, Ronnie. I think it's Ronnie Reed. So he goes to this movie, and I don't know. He was either there when it was filmed. He's definitely seen this movie a lot because he can quote it word for word, perfectly. He gets yelled at by doing this in the theater because, yes, even back then it was rude to talk in the theater. Please don't do that now. Please do not be that person. This is my PSA for the day. Do not talk in theaters. During previews and all that, I don't really care as much. But during the actual feature presentation, you shut your mouth. No, so he's watching this. We see there's this dance break, and we see one of the dancers in the background looks like Frank. He's just imagining himself in the movie because of his just idol worship for Ronnie, and he wants to be there. And then we see him go back to this movie later, and we see him as in Ronnie's place. It's just we know that's not actually Frank in that scene. He's just imagining it to be him because that's what he wants. He wants that recognition. He'd love to be like Ronnie. But due to physical appearance and all that, that ain't ever gonna happen. He goes back, he talks to the doctor some more. Finally, he convinces her. And they're grave digging. I don't know how they figured out where Ida was buried, or if they just chose a random, a grave at random to bury it, to dig up, or if they figured out, which plots were, most recently buried, so they had a more fresh specimen. But they end up digging up Ida. There goes my notebook. Greta's still very suspicious about everything going on. She knows something's going on. They start hooking up. Because unlike Frank, they got a full body here. They got an intact brain. Everything's good for Ida. They don't need to piece together different things. Earlier in the movie, the doctor is just I don't know why he did it like this. And Frank's just well, maybe he was trying to make something beautiful. And she, without hesitation, just well, he didn't succeed, or something along those lines. And he's just and she's sorry. They hook Ida up to this machine that the doctor has created. And now that we have more technicians, now that we have electricity, it's a lot easier because you don't gotta wait for a storm to hit a bolt of lightning to revive her. She leaves. She leaves. And then she coughs up a bunch of ink. That's what it looks like. It's definitely more medical terminology, insert word here thing than ink, but I'm gonna call it ink because that's what it looks like. And that's how we get the smear here of like the black ink stain, and she gets them on her hands and everything. And she has like, it's actually really cool looking. Here's the thing: even though she died while possessed by Mary Shelley, Mary Shelley also gets revived with this too. So she is still possessed by Mary Shelley even after she has been brought back to life through all this. Which, yep, apparently that happens. Mary Shelley's there. I'm not entirely sure of Mary Shelley's role throughout this. Like, it's implied that she wants to tell the story of the bride, but she never sits. I don't think she ever gets enough control over Ida to have her sit down so she can write the story. The story ends up being told. I'm not even sure if Mary Shelley's aware that the person that Ida is with during all this is Frankenstein, because that would be trippy to like come back to life and find out that the thing that you wrote about, the thing that you imagined, is actually real. So that's never touched upon, which is odd. We're gonna do as the movie does and gloss over it. She's told that she is to be the bride to Frank. She doesn't really remember anything. She doesn't remember who she was before the accident. She doesn't remember her name. She doesn't remember the accident. She doesn't remember much, really. She knows she doesn't want to be with Frank. She's not that excited about it. She's just like, no, I just want to go home. She's not sure where her home is, but she wants to go there, which I respect. Like, you wake up in a weird place, and you're like, no, I want to go back to my house. Let me go to my home, please. I don't want to be here. I don't need to be here. I want to go home. That night, she's asleep. Supposedly, Frankenstein is locked out of the lab where she is sleeping, but he gets in through a window. And during the night, Ida has a dream where she actually becomes aware of Mary Shelley in her head, but not like fully. Like, I don't think she's ever fully aware, like, while she's like awake, that she's there. As far as I know, like, she is and she isn't. Possession is a weird thing to discuss because there's some rules that just apply blanket across the board, and then it's always a little different in every movie too. We're not going to try to figure out the exact rules of this possession because I am not qualified to do that. I'm not sure. Well, somebody out there probably is, but it's not me. So she dreams of Mary, and Mary's just like, who are you? What's your name? And she's like, I don't know. And like, you see her like floating above her body, so like her dream state self is like up at the sky, and she pokes a light up there, and it shatters, and she kind of comes back to life at that point. And she goes back into her body. I don't know if she wakes up, because when she wakes up again, it's actually daytime. And we see Frank is asleep on the floor, and she leans over the table and like blows air onto him. Like, his reaction upon waking up is to punch her in the face. I can't fault him for that, honestly, because I would do the same thing to somebody if I was woken up that way. Though, to be fair, I don't think that would wake me up. I am a very heavy sleeper. The doctor comes in, she unlocks the door, you see her with a ring of keys, and she's like, what you getting? Window. They go down to breakfast. Ida doesn't want to eat breakfast. She starts throwing things off the table, much like a cat, and there's a cat eating breakfast underneath the table. It's very cute. Very cute cat. I love cats, okay? So if there's a cat in the movie, I'm gonna mention it. She doesn't want to eat, and like, during this, Mary Shelley's coming out a little bit, talking, and it's really sporadic when she comes out, and usually when she comes out, it's just a stream of random words that are all somewhat connected, either due to rhyming nature or like similar meaning, etc. So that's kind of what Mary's doing right now. She's speaking words, and then Ida pops in, and it's kind of a back and forth between the two. So that night, Frank and Ida sneak out because Ida doesn't want to be stuck in this place. And Frank's just like, well, I got my woman, I'm ready to go. We can go now. We don't need to be here anymore. The doctor's just like, you should probably stay here. They sneak out. They go to a movie first. It's the same movie, again, as we have seen him go to see 2 times now. And after the movie, they go to what I can only assume is the red light district based on context clues of the scene. And, vibes. It's very kinky. Nothing's really shown in terms of, like, parts. But, like, it's definitely more than, like, a normal club. It's definitely, like, you're probably going there to get some. You know what I mean. So they go there. Ida's having a great time. She's dancing. She's having fun. And then things get some guys come up and they're getting a little too touchy with her. And she's just like, I just came here to dance. I didn't come here so you can, get yourself off. No, she's not there for that. She just wants to have fun. And she starts freaking out a little bit because she can't get these guys off her. And Frank comes over and he gets her away. I don't know. He doesn't punch them yet. I don't think. He just kind of shoves them. There's the thing. They get out of there, but two of the guys end up following them out of the club. And this is that scene that you see in the promo where he's beating people up on the street. And this is where I got those Bonnie and Clyde vibes. I'm not sure if that would have been a better story or not. Because I like the story that we got. But I also love the idea of Frankenstein getting a bride and then just being like, okay, well, we're going to go be criminals and live a happy life as criminals now. No, the guys follow them. Frank tells the guys to leave them alone. And one of them punches him. He gets down and they're almost about to assault Ida. And, they have her on the ground. They're pulling up her dress, which she is in this dress the whole movie. They never change clothes. I'm like, girl, I don't care if you are dead or undead or whatever you are. You deserve a new dress. That dress is filthy. Please go get a new one. It is a gorgeous color on you, and I love the blue stockings that you pair with it and the cute little red boots. But also, you deserve a new dress, too. You don't need to live in that same dress forever. That's not okay. You should never just live in one outfit. Don't be a cartoon character. Please. Please have some variety. Right as they're about to get the guys are about to get their pants off, Frank comes over, and he just goes. He's just like, I do have the strength. He uses it. He punches them. He curb stomps somebody's skull. It is mush. They're both dead at the end of this point. Somebody takes a picture. I don't know who has the camera, because when they flip the camera to visual camera that we're seeing from, when they flip that to see Frank and Ida running away, I don't see anybody holding a camera. I also wasn't looking. I looked a little bit because I'm like, there's a flash. Somebody's got to be holding a camera. I didn't see it. There's a picture in the paper the next morning of them running away from a scene. They get back to the doctor's house, lab, place of living, association, habitat. They get back to that, and Frank's just like, you need to go. Go home. Between the thing with us now is done. I am not healthy. Crime. It follows me. Crime follows me. Bad things follow me. It is not good. Sneaks back into the lab area, the room that he's staying in there. He packs up his things and sneaks back out. And Ida's still sitting there on the step of a car across the street. Because she's like, I don't know where to go. I don't know who I am. I only really know you right now and the doctor, and I don't want to be stuck in there. They end up going together, running away. They end up on a train going to New York. While on this train, they talk a little bit. They're hiding. And it stops at one point because the police are now looking for Frank and Ida. They're looking for them. They know that there's been a murder. People are dead. They're being hunted now by law enforcement. The law enforcement find the bodies. There's the detective and his assistant secretary. She really wants to be a female detective, but it's not really a thing at that time, as I mentioned earlier with the doctor and being a scientist and everything. While the detective is looking at the bodies, she has some ideas of what's going on. She has theories about where they went, and she's like, they got on this train, and she's already got tickets for the next train in New York. She is on top of things. Her name is, I did write this one down, Myrna. She's fabulous. I really liked her. She is sassy while being very blunt. She definitely feels very 20s, 30s kind of secretary vibe, but she definitely has goals and ambitions, and she wants to be the detective. So she's figured things out more. While on the train, the previous night, the cops stopped it, and they're searching it. Frank and Ida hide in their train car that they're in, and they almost get away without anything going wrong. Had what happens next not happened, we probably wouldn't have had much more of it. The second half of the movie would be very different. After their little car gets searched, they're pretty sure they're in the clear, but they're staying in their little hidden spot. Unfortunately, that's when Mary Shelley starts to take over again, and she starts singing. I'm not sure if it's her or her influencing Ida or something. Something's going on there with Shelley and Ida, and they need to figure out that possession thing. But she starts singing loudly, and that alerts the cops, and they come in and they find them, and they push the cop out of the train car. It is moving at this point. The train is moving, so the cop dies. The cop has been murdered. But they get to New York now. Also, the detective, when they first find the bodies, he's like, this case will wrap up in 24 hours. Wishful thinking, isn't it? Wishful thinking. We see them get to New York. They get to a fountain, and Frank starts stripping, and Ida's just like, not a good time for a bath, and he's not bathing. He's stealing all of the coins from the fountain. I don't know what cities do with those coins. They must clean them up periodically, or people do get in there and steal the coins. I'm not sure. But also, if you're homeless, it makes sense to try to steal the coins from the fountain to get some amount of money. They end up staying at this dilapidated pool. I don't know if it was once a hotel, part of a hotel or something, but there's no water in the pool. It's just a hole in the ground now. And Ida is contemplating who she was, what her name was. So she asks Frank, she's like, "What's my name? I must have had one. But I don't remember." He jokingly says Ginger Rogers, and she laughs, and she's like, "No." And he's just like, "Penelope. Your name is Penelope." So he starts calling her Penelope from this point forward. Her name's actually Ida. Mary Shelley in there, not Penelope, but I will continue to refer to her as Ida, but also note that Frank is also thinking of her as Penelope. They're in New York, and they're gonna go see a movie. The detectives, or at least the detective secretary, probably figured out that Frank really likes Ronnie, and so he's probably gonna go to the Ronnie movie that's showing in New York that night. So they're waiting outside that theater as Frank and Ida are walking towards it, and Ida's just like, "We've seen this one. Let's go see this one," taking him to a different movie theater. So they avoid the detective and his partner because she didn't want to go see the same movie again. There's some movies I can watch over and over again, but if somebody else wants to make me keep watching the same movie over and over again, I better be really invested, or I'm not going to want to do that a lot. They get in. Apparently 3D movies were a thing back then. Whatever time period this was. I didn't realize, it's like the red and blue kind of 3D glasses, like the old kind. I didn't know they were that old. So that was interesting. But they get in, they finally find some seats. It's a very crowded theater. They find some seats, and right in front of them is a couple who they're making out. The reason I say that with a question mark is he's definitely making out with her, but I don't know if she's into it as much. She doesn't really want that, especially in a public place, such a packed theater too. He's trying to get into her pants, really her skirt or dress. She's trying to stop him, and she's like, "No, let's just watch a movie." He keeps going, and then finally Ida's kind of reached her breaking point. She's like, "She said no. Does that mean nothing to you?" And then people realize who they are, and they're like, "Oh my god, monsters!" They start freaking out. Frank and Ida are out of that theater. They're running. Then there's a mob, and I do not know where they got those torches that fast. In New York City, downtown New York City. Is there just a shop that sells torches around that time? I think somebody even had a pitchfork. Why do you have a pitchfork in the middle of New York City? It makes sense because that's just the angry mob, starter kit, pitchforks and torches. It's really weird to see in New York City at this time. The pair sneak into, well, they don't really sneak into, well, they do sneak into a high society event. Everybody there is in fancy dresses, tuxedos, and everything to get away from the mob and the cops. At first they pose as servers. They take trays from a table and they start walking around. Frank has champagne or some kind of drink, and Ida has food, and they're walking around. And at this event is Ronnie, Frank's idol, and he actually goes up and talks to him. It's awkward, but Ronnie's nice. He's just like, "This is uncomfortable, but I'm gonna deal with it." Frank never super crosses the boundary. He kind of does. He doesn't push Ronnie to keep interacting when Ronnie finally turns away. And then you get this weird dance scene, which they call Brain Attack. It's Ida who starts doing Brain Attack. It's like these people become possessed and they start dancing like Frank and Ida do. I'm not sure if it's Frank who is put this on people, or somehow Mary Shelley has her power has expanded and she's now controlling a lot of other things too. I think it's Frank and some kind of weird thing. A lot of people start dancing, and then the cops show up. The detective recognizes Ida vaguely, or Ida recognizes the detective. Something in her mind that's just there is some amount of recognition there. Past lover, maybe? We'll find out. The cops show up. Somehow Ida gets a gun, and she ends up holding Ronnie at gunpoint. That's probably the most important person there, as far as we're shown. And she's just trying to be men are just the taking advantage of women needs to stop. Like, women need to be able to fight and protect themselves and be allowed to stand up for themselves and say no. And as she's doing this, one cop kind of slips around and he starts coming towards her with a gun. She freaks out. He's about to shoot her, and she shoots him. And it's in this situation right here in this scene, it is very much in self-defense what she does. She shoots the cop. He dies. Everything kind of goes wrong. Everything kind of goes wrong from there. To create a distraction, Frank jumps on the chandelier, pulls it down, like shatters it on the ground, and they do escape. They get out to the street. They start running. The detective does kind of catch up with them, and he sees him. He has the gun pointed. He doesn't take the shot. He does end up shooting the gun, but he fires it straight into the air to alert like the cops and everything that that's where he is. He doesn't actually stop Frank and Ida from getting away. And they do get away, and then they have fun, and we kind of get a montage of them having a good time, being free of a bunch of women in cities, like smearing black paint makeup on their face like she has, standing up for themselves, fighting back against these men who have been abusing them. Yes. Women out there, if your man is like doing things to you that you don't like and you've told him to stop and he's not, please find help. If you have somebody who you can reach out to get out of that situation, please do. You don't deserve that. You deserve to be happy and live a safe life. We find out that the guy who kind of motioned at the very beginning of the movie, who motioned for these two guys to take her out of the club, his name's Lupito. He wants Ida dead because she was supposed to already be dead. And the two guys kind of failed at that. He apparently has a history of cutting women's tongues out who speak out against him. We see a bunch of jars behind him filled with tongues, and it is... Why would you keep... Like, I understand why you keep those, but also, why would you keep them on display as openly as that? One of the two guys who he had sent to off Ida at the beginning, he offs now. He wasn't pleased with how he was speaking, how he was acting, how he was going about this. So it's now just down to one guy who is meant to now kill Ida for Lupito. He is now searching for them as well, along with the police. Everybody wants these two. They end up going towards Niagara Falls. Myrna, the secretary, almost detective, has kind of figured out that Frank and Ida are going to a bunch of places where Ronnie filmed the movies, or the movies supposedly took place at. And the next one is one that takes place in Niagara Falls. As they're going, they're having fun in a car, and then some cops show up. Not the cops that have been looking for them this whole time. These are just cops that are just like, oh, you were speeding. That's why we're after you. And they get pulled over, and Frank's just like, just tell them I'm sick. Because his face very recognizable as, being a monster with, all the stitches and everything. He kind of covers himself up and just kind of leans against the window like he's asleep. The cop comes up. He's looking for Ida's license and registration. She obviously doesn't have that. So he makes her get out of the car, and he kind of gives her a body pat down, but it gets a little too pat downy. He's getting a little too touchy for what he should be doing. And he starts rubbing up against her. Nope. Frank sees this and he doesn't like it, and they still have a gun in the car. He shoots this cop. He ends up shooting the other cop that was still sitting in the car. They are running away now. They're back to being on foot without a vehicle. You're not going to know that I just paused for like a minute trying to read my own handwriting. But I did, because I have no idea what... I think I wrote Frank and Ida fight. Because they do. The cop shows up. Something goes on, and she's not happy with Frank anymore. She just wants to go do something else. She's kind of done with him. She wants to go be her own person. She's tired of being his bride. And the detective shows up. The detective has found them. Also, the guy that Lupito sent has also somehow arrived in Niagara. I don't know how he got there and how he figured out where to go, but he did. So he's there too. Myrna's off doing her own thing, and she hears... Is it a gunshot? It has to be a gunshot, because she shows up. This is kind of when when Ida finds out who she was a little bit. She figures out her name is Ida. The cop doesn't really tell her much more, but from there she kind of pieces together that everything Frank's been telling her is false. That's what they were fighting over, because he mentioned that she loved oysters, and she's like, is any of this true? He's been lying to her this whole time about who she is. The cop kind of tells her that she was a witness against Lupito, and she didn't want the case to get closed. because most of the other witnesses either backed out or were killed. But she did not want him to get away with this. So she was pushing to get into that inner circle and be that inside person. That worked out well for her. Myrna is awesome. She shows up. She has her gun pointed. Ida has a gun pointed at the detective, not at Frank. And Myrna ends up pointing a gun at Frank. Myrna shoots, and Frank gets shot in the side. The detective gets shot in the foot. Despite being pissed at Frank, she still gets in a car with him, and they end up going to a drive-in theater, where once more it's a Ronnie movie. He has a weird obsession with it. Yes, at the end of the movie, he has like this newspaper clipping of Ronnie. He loses it on the train. He's very upset. He kind of has like a panic attack at this point. He's been shot. He needs to go see the movie. He is essentially, he's not dead yet, but they fight at the theater, and he's telling her how much he loves her, despite only being like a day or two. Well, it's probably been more than that at this point. Despite it only being a short amount of time, that he loves her and he wants to be with her. They're kind of ambushed here, and the cops shoot Frank in the head. Myrna was about to do something, because she realizes that Ida's not actually the bad person that everybody's making her out to be. And also, the guy that Lupita sends there, the detective, has resigned, and he's like, I've resigned on the condition that I get to choose my replacement. He gives the badge to her. So she is now officially the detective in this case. Woo! Go her. Frank is essentially dead at this point, and Ida is racing back to Chicago. I do not know how fast they get back. It's like real fast they get back to Chicago, and Chicago is not that close to Niagara to get there within the amount of time that it's implied that they get there. But they get there, they get to the doctor's place, and she's just like, help, bring him back, and everything. And the doctor's like, he's not going to remember. I actually tried this once before. You weren't the first person I brought back to life. She had brought back her husband, and when she brought him back, he didn't remember who she was or anything. It was just brain fog. It's very possible he wouldn't remember much either. Now, Myrna gets there next, and she slips in, and she's overhearing everything. The guy that Lupita sent to kill Ida is there. He gets in, and he's overhearing everything. And the cops show up, and she's just like, I just want you to help me bring him back. And the cops get there. So many bullets fly. An insane amount of shots are taken, to the point where it's just like, you all probably didn't need to shoot that many times. Only one of you, like, if you unloading your chamber, probably would have taken her down. Maybe two of you. There's like 20 cops or so. It's insane. The guy that Lupita sent, he slips away. Myrna's just like, please stop shooting. I'm in charge of this case right now. The chief of police is just like, fine, we'll be outside. And she's like, you might want to also get the guy going down the fire escape. I think you're going to want to take him into custody. They do. They do catch him. I'm impressed by this, because I didn't expect them to listen to her, but they did. She had listened to everything Ida said and everything that went on. She's just like, oh, she doesn't actually want to hurt people. She just wants to be with Frank now. She's just looking to live a peaceful life. Nothing she did was like meant in malice per se. Myrna gets the room clear, and she's just like, you know what, Doc? You take all the time you need to get everything. And during this time, once the like rebellion started, Greta got into it, and she has like Greta's great. She has a cat. She's holding a cat at one point in the scene. The cat's adorable, little black and white, little pudgy. He's a cute cat. I love him. The doctor's just like, all right, let's do it. So we see outside that the cops have captured Lupita's man. Myrna is happily waiting out there. Look up at the building, and flash of lights, and they live. Also, Lupita gets got by a bunch of women. I'm pretty sure they cut out his tongue, which seems just, considering how many tongues he's probably cut out from women. And then it goes into the credits, and one of the songs that plays is the Monster Mash, which just feels very appropriate note. So that was The Bride. I enjoyed it enough. I'd watch it again. I'd definitely watch it again. Just almost mainly just for Jessie Buckley's acting in the movie. Like, she was great. I loved her. But beyond that, it wasn't what I expected. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way, just not what I expected. But for now, that's fine. So if you've seen the movie, let me know what you thought. Or if you haven't seen the movie, what's your favorite kind of cake? Personally, I love chocolate. Beyond that, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video, which will... I'll probably be Project Hail Mary. That's exciting. Until then, bye!